This is filmed in Rakhine State in Myanmar. And it is exactly the type of stories that we were hearing from our patients, that their homes were burned, that they were attacked. We had one patient who told us actually that she was told, "I don't care where you go, but this country isn't for you anymore and you have to leave." In Rakhine State, there is the Myanmar Armed Forces and the Arakan Army who are fighting. But there's also other groups that are fighting in this area. So the stories that we are hearing from people who are arriving from Bao Thi Dong or from Mung Dao is that there was mass violence happening from both sides. Of course, the Rohingya are the most targeted and the most at risk, but other villagers living there are in the same situation. There have been thousands of homes that have been looted and burned, sexual assault, indiscriminate killings, and there's been bombing by drones in the last few months as well. So not only the villages in Rakhine State in Myanmar are being bombed by drones, but even the waterways, the rivers where people are crossing from Myanmar into Bangladesh have been targeted, where in August there were hundreds of people lined up waiting, trying to cross from Myanmar into Bangladesh. This whole area was targeted by drone bombings, killing hundreds during that time. So in 2017, when this violence was happening, Bangladesh welcomed the Rohingya for the most part. The border was open, they were able to cross freely and to arrive in a safe place. And now that border is completely closed, and officially no Rohingya from Myanmar can actually come to Bangladesh. So all of these people arriving, they're taking a great risk even to do so. They're paying thousands of dollars to get into dangerous boats to cross the river. They're coming at night. They're putting themselves at risks of detention on the Myanmar side, but also the Bangladeshi side, because the Rohingya who are arriving, if they're caught, they're being put in jail in order to be sent back to Myanmar, which just means that they're being sent back to violence once again. There's two main groups that are fighting in the camp, and this consists of shooting with guns, stabbings, beatings, extortion, kidnapping, ransom. There's violence every single day in the camps now. So our Rohingya colleagues, like everyone who's living in the camp, are exposed daily to all forms of violence, and not only physical violence, but also psychological violence through threats of extortion, threats of kidnapping, threats of being sent back to Myanmar, and it's a daily reality. The Rohingya can't leave the camp. They're stuck behind a barbed wire fence. There are checkpoints manned by police officers, and even to move within the camp, there's checkpoints that the Rohingya have to show their identity cards and have to explain why they want to move. And so there's no possibility to flee this violence that they're facing every day. In May and June of this year, there were hundreds, if not thousands, of young men that were forcibly recruited from the camps in Bangladesh and sent back to Myanmar to fight in the war that is going on there. So the armed groups that are operating in the camps in Bangladesh were recruiting, essentially kidnapping young men from schools, from religious facilities, community facilities, and sending them back across the border into Myanmar. For the most part, they're young men who were just trying to live their lives in the camp. And in some cases, we saw young men who came back from Myanmar who had been kidnapped, and then they were injured there and they were fleeing back to Bangladesh to seek medical treatment. Many of our Rohingya colleagues had friends and family members who disappeared during that time. It really is a crisis with no end in sight that seems to only be getting worse. And seeing thousands of new people arrive from Myanmar, it's clear that there is no option for repatriation at this point. There's no possibility for the Rohingya to return to Myanmar. People try to continue their lives. They try to work where possible. Generally, it's not. They try to continue raising their families, but it's really an impossible situation. Every aspect of their lives is so tightly controlled, and so there's a general sense of hopelessness and depression in the camp because they don't see a future that is available to them.